welcome to Sansad TV. I am Namrata Singh and you are watching Sarokar, where we bring you conversations that matter to you and society as a whole. Today, our focus is on a topic the world is currently fixated on: artificial intelligence. AI is no longer tomorrow's promise, it is today's reality. The global AI race is heating up and India finds itself right in the spotlight. With strong government push, rising private investment and a world-class tech talent pool, the country is fast emerging as a front-runner in shaping the future of AI. But this race is not just about technology. It is about transformation. From healthcare, agriculture to education, manufacturing and finance, AI is rewriting the rules across sectors. The opportunities are immense, but so are the challenges. So, on our show today, we will talk about where does India stand in this global AI race, what are the benefits, the risks, and the road ahead, and how do we strike the right balance between innovation and responsibility. So to discuss this and much more, I'm joined by an astute panel of experts in the studio. It's my privilege and honor to welcome Rajya Sabha MP Shri Sujit Kumar ji, who has also authored the much discussed book AI on Trial. I'm also very pleased to welcome Professor Mausam. He's Professor of Computer Science at IIT Delhi and founding head of Yari School of Artificial Intelligence. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here on Sansad TV.
Pleasure.
I'll begin with you, Sujit ji. At present, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence, and India is also undergoing a remarkable transformation as far as AI is concerned, backed by strong government push. India is also now, OpenAI's second biggest and one of the fastest growing markets. So, according to you, where do we stand in this race today?
Well, Namrata ji, let me give out some facts. Honorable Prime Minister has articulated the nation's goal of becoming a $1 trillion digital economy end of this year. He also has given the clarion call of becoming a $1 trillion AI economy by 2030. It's obvious that, the world is becoming more and more transformative because of AI. Probably today, there is no sector, whether it's healthcare or education or livelihood or disaster management or connectivity, which is untouched by AI. Now, you yourself mentioned that it is very, very transformative. Now, as a nation with 1.4 billion citizens and with a myriad of challenges, and also with the largest internet penetration, 1 billion Indian citizens connected with mobile smartphones, 20 billion transactions, UPI transactions last month alone. In a single month, we had 20 billion UPI transactions. So probably there is no other country which is as digitally connected as we are in terms of volume and mass. So for a country of this, and also for a country of our complexity, size, and culture and linguistic diversity, AI can both be a boon and also a bane. Now, recognizing the importance of AI, and also recognizing that a country which is on a growth trajectory as ours, AI can play a pivotal role. Government of India set up the AI mission, India AI mission, with a modest budget of 10,372 crore, which is very, very modest compared to other countries, which is roughly $1.2 billion. Right. Look at comparable numbers. China has a budget of $30 billion last year for AI. US has a budget of $20 billion on AI. So in terms of budgetary provisions for AI, I think we are lagging behind. We are also late in the game when it comes to building the large models of AI, foundational models.
Right.
But we have actually adapted quite fast in building these application models, which can help us navigate our challenges. Now, for a successful AI ecosystem, you basically need three things. You need the infrastructure, whether it's the computing power or power infrastructure. And I think AI mission is doing a good job at that. We have now roughly 34,000 GPUs allocated. We are not yet a power surplus state, but I think given the push for renewable energy, 500 gigawatt by 2030, I think we are fairly decent in terms of the availability of power, which can power our data centers and our AI ecosystem. In terms of talent also, I think we are not bad because we have a large talent pool with 18 million software engineers. Now AI is being taught is being incorporated in the school curriculum. So I think we are okay with that. What I think was lagging in India for a long time was the availability of quality data.
Okay.
which is actually an irony because we have a very, very robust data collection mechanism. You know, our state planning boards and the Niti Aayog now, they have a very, very fairly decent way of collecting data. The problem in India was that, you know, data was very localized. Every department, ministry would have their own silos of data, which without any handshake and harmonization.
Okay.
That made it extremely difficult to, you know, train our data models or the AI models because of the lack of quality data set. Now, thankfully, that is also, you know, changing. So, I am very, very optimistic about the future of AI in India, and I think to solve our challenges, whether it's in the area of providing healthcare to the masses, reaching out to every corner of the country with quality education, or providing jobs to our youth, I think AI is the way to go, and I'm very, very optimistic about becoming a $1 trillion AI ecosystem, and also using AI as a platform to become Vikasit Bharat by 2047.
Definitely, you know, AI mission is doing a good job, no doubt on that. And but you know, Professor Mosam, India has the world's largest youth population, and many of whom are digitally skilled in engineering, data science, and coding. So this creates a fertile ground for, you know, India AI race. And countries also embracing AI with open arms. But you know, do you think that with over 2 decades of research experience in artificial intelligence, what in your view we should prioritize at this moment?
Yeah, that's a great question. And let me also say that, you know, I sort of agree with what Sujit ji has
Right.
said. But maybe not at the same level of, optimism.
Okay.
So, where do I differ? So, I think that we have been working hard at creating a digital infrastructure. We are very good at that, no questions. But on the compute infrastructure for AI, even though we have allocated 34,000 GPUs, we don't have 34,000 GPUs in our country at this point. They have been allocated the speed at which they are coming up, the speed at which data centers are coming up, the speed at which these GPUs or these hardware are available to train AI models is relatively slow.
Okay.
I mean, I would credit the government that they started thinking about AI much earlier than many other countries. For example, our national AI strategy came out in 2018. I mean, that is amazing that we were proactive in thinking about how AI is going to be transformative for the world. But from that point of excitement, the actual practical, the tangible infrastructure that I would have hoped we would create by now is sort of not yet there, in my opinion. Now, there is a talk about talent. And talent happens at very different levels. Talent happens at the level of, can I use an existing AI technology and contextualize it for an application? I think Indians are doing well at that point. But when it comes to talent, we should also think about the innovation infrastructure. And I think our innovation infrastructure is really, really weak.
Okay.
For example, we are at, I believe, 14th at the amount of research that we bring out in our country. That is 1.4% of AI papers in the world are written in India, and we are 1/7 of the world's population. So the gap is really, really huge, and it is not a gap that we did not know about in 2018. I remember that in 2018, Niti Aayog said in its strategy document that we have less than 2% of the world's PhDs. Well, if that was a goal that, you know, we need to increase it, then the push must have been very, very strong for us to be able to really bring back some of our, diaspora from all over the world who are working in AI and bring them back to the country and, you know, really energize the ecosystem here on the innovation side. Now, I believe very strongly that if you have quality professors, then they will train the quality teachers. If you have quality teachers, they will train the quality engineers. If you have quality engineers coupled with VC funding and so on and so forth, that will create the ecosystem. But all of this, in my opinion, starts from the professors because they have the deepest knowledge. And unfortunately, in our country, we do not have a ready large supply of high quality research oriented AI professors. And because of that, I think the talent pool is very good because there's a lot of excitement in the youth. They pick up things very fast because they are young, but they're not able to get to the depth that is needed for us to bring up new AI technologies. And that's where I feel that we will hit a plateau in whichever direction we are working, and we will stay a little bit behind, unfortunately, unless we solve this particular problem. I also agree that data problem is there, and the data problem is being worked on by the country. I think that the data problem is easier to manage. I think the compute problem is just about throwing money and building the infrastructure. Maybe we are a few years late, but we'll get there.
So basically, you mean that we need to skill the workforce as far as artificial intelligence is concerned?
Yes, we need to skill the workforce, but we need to skill them at scale and skill them at a level of depth. So there are a lot of certificate courses that have sprung in our country. These certificate courses are more in the spirit of, you can take this LLM and do this kind of a thing on top of it, and you can do prompt engineering and you can get to your next product. This is only going to take us so far. Then in IITs and IISc and some of the premier institutions, we have bachelor's and master's programs that have come up. Those are amazing. There is no question about it, but they can't train at scale. They are only able to train at a certain level, a certain number of students, like 20 students, 30 students, 50 students. That is not going to change the system. So to change the system, we really need to train a lot of teachers and really get them to that level, and who can then train the next level of workforce in the depth of AI.
But as far as Sujit ji, India's AI transformation is concerned, we are seeing impact on a lot of sectors, like if we talk about health care, agriculture, education, and much more. So could you highlight some of the government's achievements in this regard, and while also transforming people's everyday lives, and also how do you envision AI transformation in these industries in the coming years?
Sure. Let me quickly supplement what Professor Mausam ji has said. The broader R&D ecosystem in our country is awful. No one disputes that. As a nation, we spend only 0.7% of our GDP on R&D. Comparable numbers: South Korea 3.2, Israel 4.8, and so on and so forth. And what is worst is that of the pathetic, amount we spend on R&D, the private sector spends even worse. It's only 30% of the total amount spent in the country. In advanced nations, it's 70% of the total R&D spent. But thankfully, this government is very, very cognizant of this. And you might recall that in the budget of this year, Honorable FM has announced a 1 lakh crore, I'll repeat, on RDI, Research, Development, Innovation. Secondly, the government also has, passed in the Parliament the National Research Foundation Act. So I think these are steps which the government has taken in the last couple of years, but we have legacy issues. For something that has been neglected for 65, 70 years can't be corrected overnight. So it will take some time. I guess, yes, with 2%, less than 2% of the world's PhD, 1.6 or 4% of the AI papers being published, that tells you the concern that we have as a nation when it comes to R&D. But I'm very hopeful that with the right steps that the government has taken, the next, let's say 10 years or so, we will be at least, having a decent R&D ecosystem, and henceforth a decent AI and other deep tech ecosystem. Coming back to your specific query about the applications, successful applications of AI in our country, one which I was deeply involved with and which I'm very proud to state was from here, from the Parliament itself. As a member of Parliament, if I have to speak in a language other than Hindi or English in the Parliament, then I had to give a 24-hour advance notice.
Okay.
You are aware of that,
yes,
Namrataji, because you cover Parliament. We have 22 official languages.
Right.
So a subcommittee was formed 3 years ago rather, in partnership with IIT Madras, Bhashini and Anubadini, Ministry of Education's application, and Bhashini's Métis application, and I was part of that committee. So the challenge was thrown to us to develop an application where any member of Parliament can speak in any of the Indian official languages without giving any advance notice, real time, and it could be translated and transcribed real time. Today any MP can speak in any of the 11 out of the 22, any of the 11 official languages without any advance notice. Real time it is translated, transcribed with almost 97-98% accuracy. We can't reach to 100% at this point because of the semantics and nuances and the accent and other things. Why not 22? Why only 11? Because we don't have adequate data sets for languages such as Dogri, for Nepali, Santali. These are languages where adequate data sets are not available. But over a period of time,
that will be done.
And can you imagine which other country can boast of this? Any MP can speak in a member of Parliament can speak in any of the 11 languages real time, and it is translated real time with 98% accuracy. This is something which we should be adequately proud of.
I witnessed that.
So and there are many applications. I mean, telemedicine. I come from a district which is fairly rural, Kalhandi district in Odisha. Teacher absenteeism is a big issue, and also we have a separate dialect. I mean, my mother tongue is Odia, but the dialect we speak in our district is not even Odia. It's like a typical mixture of Chhattisgarhi, region specific. But the textbooks are in Odia, and there are remote hamlets where you don't have school buildings, or if you have school buildings, the teachers aren't there. So now there is a massive drive to impart content, in the local dialect to start with to class 8, 9, 10, 10 students, and a huge success. I can't tell you how successful this initiative has been. And let me cite one more example. Hello UPI.
Yeah.
Hello UPI. Now, if you go to a rural bank branch, oftentimes the bank officials are from other states or from the urban areas, so they don't interact as much in the local dialect or in the local way the rural folks would want them to interact, and that led to poor banking service. Now there is an application called Hello UPI by NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India, and that has translated all the basic elements which a bank official or a bank teller can use to interact with the customer, a rural customer, in his or her dialect, and that again has been a very successful application. I can go on and on. I mean, agriculture, precision farming, diagnostics, cancer diagnostics, disaster management. Odisha is very prone to disaster management, cyclone, and we have built models which have been so good in predicting the effect and the occurrence of cyclones. So lot of initiatives. Poaching, forest officials in Odisha are using AI to predict the movement of poachers.
Right.
So many applications. And as I said, and as Professor also was mentioning, that we have a great opportunity to contextualize, to develop the small models which are relevant to specific challenges of our country. Instead of building LLMs, which I think we are late in the game now, and that's okay. That's not a real thing to worry. We as a nation, we have so many challenges when it comes to basic elements. Let's focus on that. Let's focus on how to address these challenges using the power of AI.
Okay, so let's focus on the challenges. And so Professor Mausam, you have also working on generative AI. And reports suggest that OpenAI is setting up its first unit in India later this year, and which I think a move that underscores India's growing importance in global AI ecosystem. With ChatGPT price go at 399 rupees per month, it's being made more affordable for millions, which is a good move. Does this really make AI accessible to the masses?
Right. They are doing a great push in the country, but we should realize why they are doing it. They are doing it because their second largest market is in India.
Right.
They are doing it because their largest number of mobile users are in India. They are doing it because they see India as a market. So it's not because India is like a tech powerhouse and we are doing amazing tech. They are looking at us as a market, and that's why they are coming in. Another case in point, Meta. Meta, who has Llama family of models and who is paying like, I don't know, millions of dollars of salary per person or to great AI researchers in the US, they don't have a tech office in India. Claude, which is run by Anthropic, they don't have a tech office in India. Mistral, which is I believe from France, they don't have a tech office in India. And actually even OpenAI, to the best of my understanding so far, is not planning to do a tech office in India. Maybe they will, because they will realize the value of it. So again, it feels like I'm taking the contrarian view, which is fine for discussion. I do feel that there's a lot of fun stuff happening in India, but it is important to realize that the reason OpenAI is coming in is because they think of us as a market. Now, our PM Modi also pushes for Make in India campaign, but unfortunately, we have not been equally successful. The only company which has actually meaningfully contributed to the development of LLMs from India is Google DeepMind. They had a Google AI research office, which they rebranded Google DeepMind and later, and then they took some of the strong engineers and researchers in Bangalore office, and they actually contributed to the development of Gemini. So we have a little bit of a claim to fame on that, but otherwise the development of the most modern, most powerful AI in India has been limited. Now, I really hope that when OpenAI comes to us, they realize that there is an amazing amount of talent, and not only is it a market, there can be people who can work on technologies for India sitting in India, and we benefit as a country from that experience. I also hope that Meta and Anthropic and others realize that a lot of users are from India and actually start offices in India, but so far that hasn't happened to the level of depth. And as far as OpenAI is concerned, I believe that with these with this sort of cheap subscription. And by the way, this is also being given by Google. A similar subscription, I think Perplexity is giving it for free to Airtel users and to many other university students and all of that. So in India, the students or the users broadly are spoiled for choice. There are cheap subscription plans for them from many companies. And I think India benefits. And yes, to answer your question more directly, AI will come to the user pretty fast because AI has been developed somewhere. Every company wants to really get more and more markets. India is a market waiting to happen. Pretty much every company will try to capture it. I would be happier if there was an equivalent LLM that we could boast of that has come from India. I hope that happens in the next couple of years.
I think that will happen in the next couple of years, Sujit ji. What do you have to say on this?
I mean, I am not sure if we can, develop an LLM because I think both of us agreed that we are late in the game. I mean, for India to develop a DeepSeek kind of or a ChatGPT kind of model, I think is a bit ambitious. But I'm not too worried about that. Honestly, I'm not too worried because, let's leverage AI to resolve and to address some of the challenges that we have by developing small models, contextual models, region-specific models which are culturally and linguistically sensitive and which will address the developmental challenges of our nation. So I think it's okay. I mean, if we can develop a large model like DeepSeek, well and good. But I doubt it. And I
not
think,
anytime soon. Maybe in the future.
Well, we don't know. I mean, because technology is also evolving.
Right.
But I'm rather more worried that we are not coming up with a regulation. As a lawmaker, I'm rather more worried about the regulatory or the lack of regulatory framework in our country. Now, how are you going to address issues of trust, privacy, accountability, culpability? Only yesterday I was reading about a teenager committing suicide in the UK, and the parents have sued ChatGPT. This happened last year also. In fact,
you had mentioned in your book AI
so,
on Trial.
God forbid if something like this happens in our country, then how do you address these kind of issues? Because abetment to suicide is a crime. Section 306 IPC makes abetment to suicide a crime. The challenge is the accused has to be a human being. In this case, the chatbot is not a human being. So who do you incriminate in this case? I mean, there are many such examples. What happens if a driverless car knocks down a pedestrian in Indian road? So I don't know why there is a delay in coming up with a regulatory framework. I think government is probably diffident because it doesn't want to kill innovation, because it's unable to get the right balance between over-regulation and innovation. And I can totally understand that, because as a nation with a large startup ecosystem, we should not over-strangulate our startup culture with innovation, with over-regulation. But I think it's high time we need some kind of regulation. This discussion was also going on for a long time with regards to privacy laws. But ultimately, we had a Data Protection Act in 2023. This year, the rules also will come out.
Right.
How long can we go on postponing? There has been talk of bringing a Digital India Act for a long time now. All that we have today is the IT Act of 2000, 25 years old. 25 years is pretty, I think is pretty long time in the technology space.
Right.
So I really hope that and it's not that I mean the mention was made of the 2018 framework. So Niti Aayog, the NASSCOM and METI, they are cognizant of this. They have voluntary guidelines, but I think a robust regulatory framework is something which we should have at this point probably in the lines of EU AI Act, not as stringent as the EU Act, but a proper balance can be had.
Right. So Professor Mausam, privacy concern is a major concern. But before that, I would like to understand how these chatbot works. Like, how can a chatbot instigate a kid or a youth to commit suicide? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, I actually agree with almost everything that was said. So, what is a chatbot? A chatbot or an LLM, essentially it's a word generation algorithm. So, you say something and it sort of takes the conversation forward, essentially, right? So, now it depends on what you started with, right? So, if you started with something like what is the root of 3x square plus 6x plus 7 equal to 0 or something like that, then the model will sort of start to help you with math. On the other hand, if you started asking, okay, how do I make a bomb? Then initially, right, when this was when they started, I'm talking about GPT-3, not even
Right.
GPT-4. When GPT-3 happened, GPT-3 will answer these questions. And they will actually give you recipes on how can you convince somebody to join Al-Qaeda, how can you make a bomb, and so on and so forth. Very soon, OpenAI realized that no, this is going to be really, really devastating for the world. So they took back their GPT-3 and launched a completely new phase of training, and we'll not get into the details, called post-training, where the idea was that they will tweak the models such that they know when not to answer. Okay, when should they politely say, no, I'm not supposed to answer this question. So now when you go to GPT-5 and say, how do I make a bomb? GPT-5 will say that this is not a question I should be answering, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
So this was done,
Right.
But of course, humans are creative. And so they can maybe ask the question in slightly different way. They can say, oh, I'm a chemical engineer and I'm trying to think about this kind of a way to, have an explosion, and so on and so forth. So using slightly different words, using slightly complicated mechanisms, one can still get the models to answer. This is actually called jailbreaking.
Okay.
So we study in the field of AI how to jailbreak a model.
Okay.
Now, taking this one step further, there's a lot of talk about these models being a mental health companion. Now, what is happening in the field is that, first of all, our Gen Zs are unfortunately, there is more talk about mental health. Now, I don't want to say whether they have more mental health issues and we didn't in our age, or maybe there is more awareness now. That's another different discussion.
Right.
But let's assume that there is more awareness right now and there is more focus on mental health.
Right.
It is very hard to get a psychologist, a therapist on demand. So, let's say somebody is having an emotional episode. Then what happens at the time, right? You may not always be able to get to your therapist. So there is a discussion that maybe these kids or maybe whoever is having these issues can talk to these models. And these models, because they have read the whole web, they have read so many books, they have read so much data, they have the ability to understand, okay, this is how I can take the conversation forward. But these are not necessarily the models that have been trained to or have been tested on these mental health applications. These are generic, general purpose models. So it is possible that the kid or whoever is showing suicidal tendencies,
Right,
and asking specific questions about what happens if I take this drug and I take 10 of them, and the model says, oh, you might die this way, or things like that. And instead of realizing that the person is having, a user is having a health episode, the LLM may just continue the conversation and continue engaging, and in that process, maybe the kid gets motivated to commit suicide. I don't know the specifics of this case,
Okay.
but this is the general principle in which these bots operate. They just keep continuing the conversation on the basis of what has happened so far.
Also, I'd like to understand, so you want to say something?
No, just want to supplement, more and more teenagers are developing very unhealthy relationship with AI chatbot and completely shutting themselves from the real
Random
world.
questions
From the
they're
real world. I mean,
Right.
I wonder what were the parents doing? What were the peers doing? No one could know in this particular teenager's case. He was locked in his room for weeks apparently.
Okay.
Okay, and was interacting with this model, chatbot, and had virtually shut himself off from the real world. So the alarm bell should have rung, right? I mean, someone should have said that what is this guy doing locked in his room, and he's not going out to play, he's not going to school, not interacting with anyone. So that itself should have rung the alarm bell. But absolutely. So this is why regulation is the key. You need to have something.
Can I also say something?
Sure.
So the relationship with technology has been evolving on a generation by generation basis. Like the previous generation would be complaining about watching too much TV,
Right.
and this generation is being complained about being always on the phone.
On the phone.
It's very standard for us even in our drawing rooms to see three kids meeting and all three of them on their phones and doing something, right? Now the next generation, the Gen Alpha, is going to be in a very different zone because they are going to be talking to AI all the time, right? So it's not just on their phones. At least on the phones there were social networks.
Right.
On the AI, it's actually just talking to AI, and already there are so many apps where AI is starting to role play, and you just give them an identity and you say, okay, just talk to me from that identity. And sometimes these identities are awesome because you can give this an identity of, you are my interviewer, I am going to get a job, ask me hard questions. Now
Right.
that's an awesome identity. That's a great use of AI. On the other hand, if you give an identity, I don't know if you guys have seen this movie Her, H-E-R, Her. It's a movie about this guy who basically befriends AI.
AI, yes,
AI becomes his girlfriend, basically,
Right.
right? And I am worried that that is not just science fiction of yesterday.
Yeah.
It is going to be real as of today and maybe as of yesterday. And so, if these kinds of things happen, then we don't know where the conversation steers into, what happens to the social skills, what happens to the person's happiness levels. I don't know what's going to happen to the next generation as they grow older. So I'm actually worried just a little bit
So
about these
also
things.
everyone is talking about that AI taking jobs. Is this true?
I see technology has evolved for millennia, right? And every time we have voiced this concern. When computers came, I remember bank employees went on strike,
Okay.
saying it will take our jobs. I think it will take some kind of jobs because I'm a lawyer myself, so I'm actually worried about my job being replaced by AI. But I think we need to reskill ourselves, we need to upskill ourselves, new kind of jobs will be created. So in the large scheme of things, I don't think we should be worried, new jobs will be created, but that has always been the case with any new technology, any new innovation. So yes, we have to be worried in the sense that we have a large youthful population, and hence there is need for massive skill training, skill training at a scale. Okay, the kind of skills that AI will need, the kind of technological expertise or skill sets that AI will need. But yes, I don't think jobs per se will vanish, new jobs will be created.
So basically, sir is saying that we need to upskill ourselves. Professor Mausam.
Well, we always need to upskill ourselves.
Right.
As an AI researcher, I have upskilled myself 5 times in the last 12 years because AI kept changing. Deep learning happened and then something else happened and then BERT came and then GPT came and now these large LLMs have come. We have to keep upskilling ourselves. So there is no question about the need for upskilling. But the real question is, will we have an appropriate number of jobs, let's say 10, 15 years down the line as we have today?
Okay.
And if you had asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have said absolutely, no question about it, because LLMs had not yet come in and we had seen what AI can do so far and we were not worried. It was an augmenter, but it was not necessarily a replacer. Of course, there was some discussion that some specific jobs may go away. That always happens with technology. No need to worry, because some jobs go away, many new jobs get created, life goes on, that's all right. The challenge right now is that AI as a technology is very horizontal. It is broad based. It is going to affect every discipline. Okay? So if you are a doctor, it is going to help you in doing better diagnosis. If you are a lawyer, it will help you in doing better study of related cases. If it's a mental health professional, it will be on your phone someday, not helping commit suicide, of course. if you're a professor or a teacher, let's say a teacher, then AI could also someday teach. In fact, OpenAI is exactly trying to do that in the next few years in India and elsewhere. You think about any job which is not physical. So I'm not talking the job of a farmer. I'm not talking about the job of somebody who is a plumber who makes the railroad or whatever. I'm not talking about those jobs. I'm talking about all the jobs you used to do on a computer more often than not, or in a setting which can be done on a computer in a digital fashion. And my worry is that if you are really good at it, sure, you will be fine, right? But if you are sort of on the average or below average side, today there are many professions where you could still have a good job. If you talk to the great legends, like if you talk to Jensen Huang, he says that no, don't worry, because AI cannot give you value system. But how many people are needed for the value system part of AI, right? Maybe AI will do most of the legwork and there is one person who is sitting and managing the AI to get to the next iteration.
Right.
On the other hand, Geoff Hinton, who is the Turing Award winner, Nobel Prize winner, who is the founder of deep learning, one of the key people, he says that a plumber's job is more safe. So I think there are, even in the legends of our world in the field of AI, opposing views, and nobody knows the answer, to be very honest. But the best we can do is to make sure that we follow our passion.
Okay, so Gigi, any closing comments for the show?
No, I think I'm very hopeful, as I started the show with. I'm very hopeful about India's AI future. I'm very hopeful about India's general future, and AI is going to play a very transformative role in that journey. Yes, there are challenges, issues of privacy, trust, accountability, now regulations. So with the right talent pool, with the focus on infrastructure, computing power infrastructure, and also with the focus on leveraging our data sets and our huge data that we have in the country of 1.4 billion people, because every Indian interacting or engaging with UPI is leaving a digital footprint.
Right.
So if we are able to connect all these dots, I think we are going to see huge benefit through this transformative technology for our country.
Definitely. And the India AI race is more than just a trend. It's a defining moment in our technological journey. With talent, policies and investment converging, India is well on its way to becoming a global epicenter for artificial intelligence. Yes, the journey is filled with challenges, privacy, ethics, competition, but the opportunities far outweigh them. So with that, I wrap up this discussion. Thank you, Sujit ji and Professor, for taking our time and talking to us. And to our viewers, thank you for watching Sansad TV. Bye and take care. To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.